Hi there everyone. Decided to record a video to share some of my thoughts that I have to go alongside the blog this week, just for a change, because I'm walking my dogs, so there might be some calling of the dog in the video. Walking the dog in the local woods, which is Delamere in Cheshire. Gorgeous woods. I absolutely adore woods. My favourite place to be. Probably do like the beach as well, but do love these woods. And I was thinking about the blog, and it's just about to rain. Look at me, I've got my t-shirt on. It's absolutely chucking it down. So actually I'm going to go and stand under a tree, record this. I was thinking about standing still anyway. So the blog is all about assessments. Obviously it's what I'm pretty obsessed in, autism and ADHD assessments and the quality of them. I found a really nice little nook here. I'm going to stand against this tree. Dog's going to be very confused as to why I've stood still. So back to the point. Autism and ADHD assessments, and I do talk a lot and think a lot and share a lot about quality of assessments, but I struggle with it because I hold two things in at the same time, and that are opposing, so kind of conflicting thoughts and feelings, which I think is a very, very normal human thing. We often have opposing thoughts and feelings about things, and it's hard to hold two opposing things, I think. Well, it is for me. And so I wanted to share what they are. So on the one hand, I'm so clear about the quality of assessments that are needed to get to know somebody and understand whether they are autistic and ADHD. So autistic and ADHD assessments are what we do. And because of the nature of it, because it's getting to know someone, understanding with them, their developing identity, understanding how they experience the world. That's the heart of it, how somebody experiences the world. And you can only kind of come to understand that by really getting to know someone. And by getting to know someone, you need to spend time and get alongside them and explore their experiences. So it does take time, and it does require the clinician who's getting alongside somebody to explore their identity, whether they're autistic or not, to have a sound understanding of what autistic experiences are. And in a way, there's that, and then there's also a knowing what sort of a differential, call it differential diagnosis, so understand what it isn't, and understanding kind of overlaps, and sometimes there's some complexity there. So it does require clinicians to be trained and experienced. So I'm very clear about the quality of assessments that really everybody having an autism assessment should have. And I'm also clear that that level of assessment, or because of the history of the world, but especially in the context of autism assessments, there are so many, like we're catching up, there are so many girls and women who are autistic and haven't been supported to understand this about themselves, or understand how they experience the world, and therefore that's been causing lots of distress. And so there's a lot of people currently that would really benefit from an assessment and an understanding and a discovery about themselves. And in terms of statutory services, NHS, they are massively underfunded, and so they are reverting to, let me just check, I've still got a dog, She doesn't wander far when I stand still, to be fair. Sorry for my popping off tangential brain. Actually, I shouldn't apologise for that. It's just what happens, isn't it? And then I have to try and find where I was get back on track. But yeah, the NHS services are underfunded, and yeah, those services are trying to do the assessments in a I guess as quickly and as financially efficient as possible. And they are paying, so obviously there's the right to choose options, there's the NHS assessments and right to choose, which are funded by the NHS, and the funding is, it's just nowhere near enough. It's just not. Yeah. That's all I've got to say on that. It's not enough to for a clinician to have a decent, living wage, in my opinion, for the amount of time that it requires. And so yeah, that's the kind of the tricky thing really that I wanted to share. And I do have some ideas about what could be done about that. I do think that if you've got a short amount of time, I think there are certain approaches to helping someone understand their autistic experiences that can be done, rather than what is done. I think that they're not choosing the most appropriate methods, ways of assessing. That's my personal opinion. But it's a kind of a real conflict, that what's needed and what's not available in statutory services anyway. But I think that I feel passionate about calling out services that aren't good enough, because we have quite a few girls and women who are coming to us after having an assessment. They've already had an assessment. Oh my goodness, people should really only have one of these assessments in their lifetime. It's all that's required. It actually really, really gets to me when people have to have multiple assessments. It really upsets me. Because of the distress it causes, just going through that assessment and not being understood in the context of often many years of not being understood, and then going to a professional. We have a lot of distraught women in particular coming to us in that scenario. That I think better nothing than to have that. However, in my blog, I do talk about I think it's what could be helpful is if you know that you are heading into, if you know you're having an assessment that's going to be kind of sort of short. I mean, the length of time doesn't actually, it's not the length of time, it's the approach really. An approach that's going to not had the time to be as compassionate and listen and understanding and validate and all that kind of stuff. Then going into that with your eyes wide open, knowing that, and having a strategy to have something alongside, have some support alongside, I think actually could be really helpful. Just knowing, right, this is the type of assessment I'm going, in terms of expectations, rather than like hoping that it's going to be, all that you want it to be, but it's not. And so investigating the assessment service, what it's going to be, knowing what you're walking into. I'm getting absolutely drenched here. Glad I've got my coat. I'll put that on when I finish this video. It was boiling hot before, typical British spring summer. Knowing what you're going into, and then planning around that, and taking responsibility around that, and going, okay, that's what it's going to be. Oh, she's jumping up now. She's like, I've had no attention for 9.5 minutes. I think there's, and I don't think, I haven't been speaking about that too much. I think it's a sign that I need to wrap up. I did think 10 minutes would be max anyway. So have a read of the blog. I'll be really, really interested in to hear anyone's thoughts on it. And it's something that I will keep thinking about and talking about. So nice to speak to you today. And Have a lovely day, whatever you're doing, everybody.